This update is probably the fastest turnaround that Starbreeze has had in the entirety of Payday 3's lifespan, but when you look at what all is on offer, it's pretty easy to see why. Update 24 doesn't contain much besides a full rework of the 99 boxes heist, as well as 2 more contracts, plus quality of life improvements and bug fixes. But given that July is the vacation month for Sweden, it's still vastly superior to the nothing we've gotten in previous years. As for the actual content of the rework itself, well, let's go over it. There's not much that'll be immediately noticeable when you start off, besides this old entrance now being blocked by a forklift, but besides that, most of the objectives and flow are pretty much the same as before, with the exception being opening the gate into either of the shipping yards. Instead of using a zipline to enter here like before, you're tasked with finding a clipboard hidden beneath a stack of papers, which you can then use to open the gate with a number pad. Besides that though, everything else is pretty much as it was before, save for the removal of the circles from around the beginning of this year. What I'm not going over as much as the quality of life adjustments made to minor parts of this heist, like this little button next to the window in the side opposite ear to hide the computer hack, the containers being locked behind a red keycard instead of QR codes and stealth, or being able to open both of the tech containers at the same time now, or the fact that you can open or close the garage door here to completely change the dynamic of either stealthing around the warehouse or the shootouts if you're going loud. Now I should clarify that this is all if you end up getting the original starting point of the heist in front of the warehouse, as this heist has even more randomization than before now, with the starting point of already being inside one of the 2 shipping yards, masked up and ready to go, with the caveat of all the loot being inside of the warehouse instead. Essentially, with this starting point, you're playing the heist backwards, as instead of going from the front of the warehouse to the shipping yard to get the loot, you're going the opposite direction, starting in the yard and going to the warehouse and back, which has completely different objectives in how you go about that. In order to leave the shipping yard, you have to find 4 power boxes, at least it's 4 on overkill, similar to the bollards and No Rest for the Wicked. Once you're outside of the shipping yard section, assuming the alarm has gone off, you have to find a fingerprint in one of the 2 guard booths to enter the warehouse, which is made to be a secure area if you get this starting point, given all of the loot is in here. Besides the containers that the main loot can be in, there's also these small wooden crates where the extra 6 bags of money could be for all the loot in the heist, with the majority of the cash bundles being in the container that doesn't have the tech. The containers are opened with QR codes when you get this RNG, but I don't mind it nearly as much given that you're both given more than enough QR codes, but also are given the option to get the codes from either guards or stationary phones in the offices upstairs. This is probably the best time to mention the changes to the lighting inside of the warehouse too, as this area feels ironically a lot warmer than it used to, with the primary use of the color yellow to light things here. I like it, it's refreshing and contrasts well with the outside. There's also the truck outside that's another location for the loot to be in, and it's definitely more interesting when you actually get it as it gives you a completely different spot to consider using properly throughout the heist. Lastly, and probably most memorably of the reworked version of this heist, is once you go loud. If you haven't gotten the gate to and from the shipping yard open yet, then you don't need to mess with the code or breaker boxes to do so. Instead, you're able to manipulate a crane to drop an empty container on top of this small gate to get in, and it's a good way to get sniper cover when you're moving the thankfully more generous refrigerated tech to the secure point. That said, I do miss the zipline. Yes, it was inconsistent between loud and stealth originally, as when you went through the gate and loud it opened automatically, but I also think having an option to use the zipline as a heist favor would be a good way to add more player agency into the heist and therefore give it even more replay value. As for what I suggested in my original video of adding in a fingerprint scanner for the refrigerated tech, I'm a little mixed on it at this point. Yes, it would promote more map exploration, but I can also see the argument for it being a bit of a slog and loud, as you'd theoretically be spending a while combing the map for a mug or something just to get your loot, and that was already tedious enough in Delivery Charge and Shopping Spree when doing those loud. 2 of the favors have been changed as well, as the open container and closer thermite drops have been replaced with a favor for C4 to just blow open the tech containers and removing the civilians from the map respectively, and both of these make the heist much more interesting to replay. But overall, I gotta say this is another fantastic rework, and now I don't need to feel nearly as bad when I say I want to play 99 boxes over the other heist in a similar warehousey vein like Delivery Charge. Man, I've really come to hate Delivery Charge. What else is in the update though? Well, besides some minor bug fixes, just a couple of contracts, and these are some of the weirdest of the bunch if you ask me, mostly because they're so different compared to what we had before with doing such inane tasks like running through a door 15 times. There's one where you're basically told to use a specific loadout with a double-barrel shotgun, revolver, and cook-off that still doesn't have a unique inspect animation, by the way. And that's basically the whole contract, while the other one is just telling you to play 4 loud heists in a row. The former is very odd, but not unwelcome despite the flashbacks to the original challenge system my beloathed, while the latter is simply basic. For an update made during the vacation month, though, and for how quickly it was released after the last, I'd say it's pretty good. If I had to grade it, I'd give about a B-. I feel like that's fair.